Hey everyone, welcome back. This is Jorik. I hope you're doing great wherever you are in the world. Well, if you happen to be in Portugal, if you're thinking about moving to Portugal, interesting thing. It's another year and another government collapse. That's 3 years in a row that the government has kind of fallen apart. This time due to a confidence vote, of which there was not a belief that the prime minister could go about his duties. He actually was calling for the vote. And the interesting thing is this had to do with a family matter. I believe a consulting business that he started. I think the kids were owning or other family members, and I believe that was kind of looked at as a conflict of interest. So he is no longer going to be prime minister. The president, I believe, has dissolved parliament, and then elections are going to be in May. And so, what does that mean for those of you watching the channel? Which most of you are people that are recently moved to Portugal or considering a move there for retirement, maybe for work. And it just means that the things that maybe are of interest of you aren't going to be a concern to the government in the near future or maybe distant future. So those things like AMA, the immigration agency, nothing but a disaster as far as getting people in for appointments, getting renewal appointments, backlog of cases. That's not going to get any better because with another government, again, there's thousands of things that they have to take care of for the Portuguese people, which are the higher priority than for immigrants moving into the country. So not going to get taken care of. And I think that as much as I've made videos in the past, because we were there for two of these three elections, saying, it doesn't really impact you as an immigrant. If you're there as a foreigner, kind of just another day. It's really more impactful to the Portuguese. I will say, having three elections in 3 years, you got to start thinking about, is this really a place I want to be? Is this a place I want to retire to? And not so much because of, again, day to day doesn't impact you, but trying to immigrate there, process isn't going to become any easier. In fact, we're hearing it's getting even worse to where it used to be Spain was more difficult to get into, Italy was more difficult to get into as far as the bureaucracy and whatnot. Well, now Portugal's bureaucracy has gotten just as worse as everywhere else, and it's because of the government instability and uncertainty. And that also when you are there and you're trying to get your temporary residence card renewed, there was just a or subscriber that had talked about just taking months or not having the appointment canceled. That's commonplace, and that's part of the problem with the agency, and it's going to get worse. It's not going to get better. And then in the long term, is it going to be 4 elections in 4 years, 5 elections in 5 years? This, for those of you who are considering a move to Portugal, if you think about this, 3 elections in 3 years, this is a microcosm of what you're going to experience in the immigration journey in Portugal. I think it's a pretty fair comparison. Just, I don't know, I think of it as sort of, there used to be an old Disney movie from the 70s called The Apple Dumpling Gang, and it just sort of, the people just couldn't shoot straight. I think this is really it. It's another example of just the incompetence at the government level, that they can't keep a government together for more than a year. You trickle that down to something that is insignificant, meaning thinking about immigrants and immigration is pretty insignificant to Portugal's government or the Portuguese people. You're not thought of, and that's something that you have to think about because it's important to you to get the immigration handled and resolved and sorted out, and then renewals sorted out. And then the last piece, here's the interesting thing is, citizenship when you can apply after 5 years, and that's what a lot of people go to Portugal for, is to get that second passport and not necessarily stay in Portugal. It used to be 18 to 24 months. That was commonplace for people to be able to get citizenship. Yeah, well, now it's 36 to 42 months based upon recent stats, as well as people that we know that started the immigration process. They moved before we did and then are starting the immigration journey. We're doing citizenship. Well, now everything's delayed. It's taking longer. And those people that thought that they could get citizenship within, let's say, 7 to 8 years are now closer to 9 to 10 years in before they're getting it. So the whole dream of if you're thinking about going to Portugal, getting citizenship, and let's say moving someplace else, going to take you longer. And this government announcement just is another reminder that it's just going to take longer because who knows what will happen with the elections. I believe the president has scheduled those for May. It's just another year with another election in Portugal. What are you going to do about it? So just hang tight. Hopefully, I'll have more news as things come out about this and keep reporting on it. But if you're immigrating to Portugal, I don't know, I think you need to think about someplace else too that might have a more stable government to consider calling it home for your retirement. As always, thank you so much for watching and enjoy your travels.